Let's be honest, we never like it when a holiday's coming up and the models have gone haywire on what weather you can expect. I've got the details you need to know right here on One Nation Weather on what you can expect with the Thanksgiving week mess. Alright, let's jump right into it with the GFS model for the next 7 days. Of course, we've had the system creating some big flooding issues in Florida. That's going to move up, kind of combined with a cold front for us there in the northeast, but especially Atlantic Canada now. As you can see for us here in the main coastline, really the only place getting skimmed by these systems as they both combine, although the entire northeast will see at least brief impacts from the front. But the system I'm talking about as we move towards our November 20th is going to be over here over the south central plains. You can see beginning to transpire over our Sunday, the 19th, and towards our Monday, the 20th for us. And as it begins to move eastward as we head towards the start of our Thanksgiving week, that's when the tightly packed isobars are going to come for us here, and we're going to have it kind of combining with some of the energy from a system that's actually going to be up in Canada. And this could really help turn this into a major front just in time for some of those of you who are going to be traveling right before Thanksgiving, heading to family for the holidays. Yeah, this looks like a big mess for those of you hitting up the major airports in the northeast, especially if you go with the GFS model where it shows everybody in the northeast starting off as snow and then turning over to rain eventually. But you can see that really tight pocket in the interior northeast of very hefty snowfall rates, even some ice maybe mixing in with that. That would be a big mess. But point being here, a big front moving from portions of the plains, especially on up over towards the east coast as the low pressure system lifts northeastward. Now let's take a look at the European model over the next 7 days. Very similar starting setup there with that brief system hitting the northeast, and then of course we kind of reset everything, and then as we go towards our Sunday the 19th, we begin to see low pressure develop over the south central plains. Again, this is coming out of California. And then here we go. This begins swirling around. Maybe some severe weather on the eastern flank of that with this little cold front-ish look that we get here. This might actually be low pressure number 1 because it might actually develop a second entity there within that swirl. But nonetheless, you can see how the European model has that begin tracking northward, bringing rain even to portions of the Midwest in some of the spots that the GFS didn't necessarily indicate getting rainfall. And then we, of course, see, impacts stretching all the way along the East Coast. So really, it looks like this is going to be the biggest impacts coming to the East Coast, and especially the southeastern United States. So the southeast on up towards the northeastern United States, prepare for very hefty impacts from this. But if you live in other areas, don't worry. I've got all your details that you need to know coming up in just a few moments. Now, tracks by the latest model. Again, the European model with its midday run from today, tracking this on up from portions of the south central plains into the Ohio Valley, really making this come on over Lake Erie for us there, whereas the GFS has the track continue on over toward portions of Maine, which of course allows that wraparound cool air to create that snowfall risk, which is what obviously it was showing with everybody starting off as snow from places like PA and New Jersey on off towards the northeast. So your chance of severe weather from November 18th through our 19th. So this is your Saturday and your Sunday. Overall, especially in towards our Sunday, a level 1 risk here over the south central plains as I see it right now. My scale goes from 0 to 4, 0 being none, 4 being very high threat already. Right now I've got a low-end threat, and I expect it to stay that way. Here's a responsible trough digging on down. You can see we've got 2 jet streams pictured on your screen. We've got the polar jet stream on the upper part of your screen. We've got the subtropical jet stream over the bottom part of your screen. And the subtropical one is what's always normally elevated for us here in terms of its intensity during El Nino, so it's not a surprise that we're getting that. But again, I just circled the polar jet stream pretty wavy, pretty flat there with the subtropical jet stream as it brings that energy and a little bit of a cutting trough there over portions of the southern United States, some of that energy eventually combining with it there in the northeast as we head towards this weekend. The reason I'm just showing you this pattern, it's one, going to help you with something that I'm going to explain in just a minute later in the video and make it a little easier, but 2, it's just showing you some of those reds really indicating that we've got some fierce wind energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and of course wind energy in the upper levels can transfer to lower levels and become a damaging wind event or some sort of stronger low pressure system with severe weather. With your chance of severe weather for your November 19th through the 22nd, from the Arklatex region on over to the Carolinas, that's where I'd expect a level 1 risk during that time, moving eastward over that time frame. So, in the places like the Carolinas, your risk would come the 21st into the 22nd, for example, for either. So let's actually read the fine print and look at what the Storm Prediction Center has said, underlining some key points for us here. Upper level trough. That's point number 1. It's going to be building on in to portions of the desert southwest on your Saturday with low-level moisture, some dew points in the 60s, which is a little bit high for this time of the year. Overall, though, it's going to be slow to destabilize the atmosphere due to the fact that there's going to be cloud cover all over that region. And, of course, cloud cover really helps to put a hamper hamper down those thunderstorm chances. Ahead of the front, weak instability is forecast to develop as it moves to the lower Mississippi River Valley, though dew points will be in the mid-60s. And then as this moves further eastward into the eastern United States, just kind of circling this whole area, ahead of that trough, isolated thunderstorms may become severe. So again, pretty much the wording from the Storm Prediction Center, not enough for a slight risk likely out of this event so far, and it looks to stay that way, but probably a marginal risk maybe day by day, especially on the initializing points of this storm. Now, as you can see, again, let's look at the jet stream force here, because this is going to, now I'm going to explain how the polar jet stream could dip down and play a role in this in bringing cold air for your Thanksgiving. You can see right there in the Pacific Northwest, there's this big dip in the polar jet stream, and really it's not even connected to that eastern part of the polar jet. It connects on down with the subtropical jet stream there in New Mexico and Texas. This turns in to what's a little bit pretty much of a polar jet stream dip. While it looks like that here, eventually what you're going to notice is that the energy from that polar jet stream dip mainly gets transferred over to the one in the southeast, but nonetheless, this kind of look normally means colder air in the white areas on your screen where there's no wind energy, so into portions of the Midwest I would be expecting cooler air at that point. But look at how that front, as it moves eastward, the polar jet stream quickly retreats, and this just turns into, again, the subtropical energy moving northeastward. My point with this being, the polar jet stream will not dip down long enough to make a major Arctic outbreak, as it looks right now, especially with the European model. So let's look at the temperature anomalies precisely for us here again. You can see the front moving eastward, and by your Thanksgiving day, about 5 to 10 degrees below normal over parts of the eastern United States. There is still the chance for an Arctic blast, but this is overall not the highest probability. So I'm just laying out all those options to you. Rewatch parts if you need to kind of re-understand some of the things I've said, because a lot of things are playing into each other here. It looks like things will be warming back up towards the west coast as well. But my point here is just that it's going to be cooling on down a little bit compared to average. So still a cold Thanksgiving compared to average. But if the model trends continue going the way they are, especially with the Euro, we're looking at what this Climate Prediction Center outlook is showing for the 6 to 10 day range, a little bit below average. We're not seeing any deep blues or deep reds on your Thanksgiving map, so overall tame in the anomaly department there at that time. Cooler air moving on off towards the east, and of course along the west coast, around level 3 or 4 chance of it being warmer than average. So that's what we're looking at there. That's the Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day outlook, which has Thanksgiving smack dab in the middle of it. Here's my latest and official Thanksgiving temperature forecast for now. I do slightly below and slightly above, and then well below and well above. I don't have any of those anomalies being in the major categories here, so nothing well below, nothing well above. We're looking at slightly above along the west coast, an area where we're kind of equal chances there in the central United States, with slightly below average air heading eastward on your Thanksgiving into eastern parts of the country. Hey, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that for me now. You can leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, go ahead and hit comment, and you can leave something that you want to tell me down below. Any feedback is appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and here are the credits, everyone.